Next time, how about if they just go to YouTube?
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton. MillerandMoulton.com. Miller_Moulton on X. By the way, we've got the week-long Shoeless Joe Sports Cafe poll questions. You know Shoeless Joe's terrific sports bar, Bell Tower Shops, Fort Myers. They let you decide the games that'll get the volume at 1 o'clock and at 4 o'clock, the NFL games on Sunday. Shoeless Joe's, Doubletree by Hilton. Good food, good times, good sports. Make sure you vote in the poll questions, which 1 o'clock game you want. A lot of choices at 1. 4 o'clock one seems pretty obvious most weeks, but just go and vote. Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe, you decide. And you wear your team's jersey to Shoeless Joe's. Bud and Bud Light specials just for you. Thanks for listening.
Sorry, David. With a little confusion, I've got to retext all of our guests. There was a lot going on, so I apologize. I kind of tuned out for a little bit there. So wherever you want to go, sir, wherever you want to go.
Well, are you okay with the just one transfer portal now in college football? And it's 15 days, not 10. And it's January 2nd to January 16th. If it was only going to be one 15-day period of time, did they get it right?
Yes. I think the bigger problem with the spring, and I know fans don't want to hear this because they don't like the idea of people transferring during the playoffs, but we're affecting 4 teams by doing it in January. We're affecting the teams that are in the semis, and we're affecting the teams that are in the finals. When you do it in the spring, you are affecting every single team, and you're really killing the middle to bottom of the Power 4 conference, particularly the bottom, and you're destroying the G5 schools because they've got nowhere to go to get their players then. If players leave in the spring, how do you replace those players? You really can't.
Now,
players have already made their decisions. The incoming freshmen have already picked their schools. So you either affect 130 plus teams or you affect 4 teams. I think this is better.
It's important to note that it's still on the books that if your coach leaves or is told to leave, you get 30 days. Everybody gets 30. Does not matter. Okay, like if your coach leaves in mid-January, you get 30 days from the day he left to whatever to get up and leave. Doesn't matter if it's outside of January 2nd to January 16th. You know, folks at Penn State decide they have the money to ask Mr. Franklin to leave. Okay, you got 30 days. Folks in Austin come up with the $45.4 million for Steve Sarkisian. Were you with us yesterday when we went through how similar Sark's numbers are to James Franklin? In terms of top 10 wins and beating ranked teams in your own conference. He's in the area code. He's very much in the area code. He may not be living on the same block, but he's living in the same neighborhood.
Oh, there's no doubt. James Franklin's in the corner house, but Sark's at the end of the cul-de-sac, if you know what I mean.
Right.
There is no doubt.
Right. So
by
anyway,
the way, 40 plus million on both ends for the buyout, right? One's right around 50, the other one's 40.
45.4 for Sark. All right.
And 50 for Franklin, I thought it was.
At least. Yeah, I thought it might have been a touch higher, but we'll go with that. Okay. And remember, then you got to buy out the staffs. I mean, you know, at Penn State, that defensive coordinator left Ohio State to come to Penn State. The word is he's making over $3 million a year. By the
How
way,
long of the deal was that, by the way? I mean, most of those deals are year to year, are they not?
I don't know about year to year. I wouldn't leave Ohio State for a 1-year contract. No, that's a multi-year thing. That's a multi-year deal. So you not only have to buy out Franklin, you got to buy out his staff. Then you got to pay for your new staff. We haven't even gotten to paying the players yet. I mean, if you want to get rid of James Franklin, it's $100 million. Just think of it that way. It's $100 million. Probably 60 to ask the current regime to leave, and then it's forking down
all the money to bring the new regime in. You still have not paid a player yet.
Right. So think in terms of, same thing in Austin, by the way. You want to move out Sark, and then we start saying, I want to get rid of him. Once again, okay, fine. Who you replacing him with? Like, you and I, we're huge Alex Golish guys. Okay. First off, I'm telling you, no guaranteed leave. His parents moved to Tampa. I'm just saying. I know.
You are so cute, David. He'd leave in a heartbeat. I mean, that is so laughable that he wouldn't leave. I don't, for that money, and not to mention, remember what Bud Elliott did say a couple weeks ago. This is a team that's losing a lot of players, even before they steal all the guys in the portal. So you and I are on polar opposite ends.
We are.
Alex Golish.
We are.
Well, you know what, David? We'll agree to disagree. Something people have a lot of difficulty doing these days.
We can't do that, Mark, not without screaming at each other
and unfriending one another.
Right. I'm done with you.
By the way, Miller and Moulton's relationship is based on the fact that we have agreed to disagree for over 20 years.
It's actually
long before we ever did a show. It's why we do a show together. It's a fact. After minor league hockey games, when I was calling games and David was working for a local television station, we would have these same conversations over a beer after the game. All the time.
Disagreed on everything. Absolutely everything. At one point, I remember we were laughing one night going, why do we put up with each other? We literally don't agree on a thing. It was fun, though.
But
it was. The
point that we're making, it particularly, look at, my alma mater is struggling. There's some people up there that want that guy gone. Whatever. I'm not bringing it up for that reason. They can look at him and go, we can get someone just as good, if not better. But when you're Penn State, and you're Texas. Now, I'm not including Florida because I think Florida can do better. But when you're those schools, who is it you're going to get? And tell me, because first off, maybe Lane would leave Ole Miss for Texas. Maybe. He wouldn't leave Ole Miss for Penn State. I don't think he would. By the way, it's square peg, round hole. To me, Lane in Happy Valley. That doesn't work to me. So who is it, Nittany Lion fan, that you want? You want Matt Campbell? I mean, that was the hot guy 5 years ago. Who in the Big Ten can you go get that's better than James Franklin?
Well, after last Saturday, you got the Penn State fan right now going, I can list 30 guys off the top of my head.
And that's the first time. That is really the first time that Franklin's lost to an opponent that was inferior.
Yep.
He's not won the big game, but go look at his record against the teams he's supposed to have beaten.
James Franklin, I thought a lot about this. He's Mark Richt.
It's a great call.
Now, Georgia.
I will say Mark Richt was also a really good guy. I don't know. I mean, James Franklin's not the same guy that Mark.
No, I understand, but we're talking
same coach. But the same coach,
right? We're talking wins and losses here. Mark Richt averaged 9.5 wins a season during his 15 years. I think it was 15 years. I think his last year at Florida State was the 2000 season. He called the plays in the Natty that they lost to Oklahoma. He did 15 years at Georgia, I think, 01 through 15. He won 9.5 games a year. I mean, like 142 plus wins. It's a hell of a run.
But he couldn't beat Florida. He couldn't win an SEC title.
Yeah.
And he couldn't. And the other thing was Georgia wasn't ready to commit to Rick the way they committed to Kirby. They changed who they were for the football program. Football season is back, and celebrate your game day with Jimmy the Beef Guy. We're talking tender, juicy Chicago beef sandwiches. Whether your party's for 10, 100, or 200, bring game day to your house with Jimmy the Beef Guy. The catering packages come with the beef, the gravy, the peppers, the bread, everything you need. 2 convenient locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. Skip the ordinary and bring the beef. Jimmy the Beef Guy, Chicago flavor, Southwest Florida style. Call today or visit jimmythebeefguy.com. Tell him Miller and Moulton sent you. Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512. American Paint Supplies, celebrating 30 years in Naples, is proud to be the exclusive Farrow and Ball dealer in Southwest Florida. The best thing to come from the UK since the Beatles, Farrow and Ball has the colors and paints at American Paint Supplies. See why all the designers and painters choose Farrow and Ball. For 30 years, American Paint Supplies provides the perfect pairing of service and expertise on 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. American Paint Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine, no more snoring, no more tossing, no more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Schedule. I told our players, y'all chose the wrong conference to come play in. Like, you should have gone play in another conference. If you don't want to play that schedule, you chose the wrong school to come to. And that's just life in this league. So don't tell me in recruiting and when we brought you in the portal that you want to compete, you want to play against the best in the SEC, and all of a sudden shy away from it and look at our schedule and say, oh, shoot, look, we got to play. We get to play.
I don't know, DC. Maybe if he had the ability at Penn State, but what, Wisconsin, Arkansas, Illinois, I don't know. Would you rather have Bielema than Franklin? Fear of him going to the NFL or not to the NFL with him, but going to another school. They get scared and they offer contracts. Universities panic.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes until JP Peterson joins us at the top of the hour. The Rays' new ownership group met with the media yesterday. JP was there. He's been more on top of this story than anyone, period.
Quick correction. I got a little grief on the text line there, the Pelican Roofing of Florida text line. By the way, Pelican Roofing statewide, commercial or residential, 1-866-9-Pelican. Mark Richt did win 2 SEC championships.
But it wasn't enough. Okay. That's the point that Mark was really making, was he didn't win enough. He didn't win enough big games. All right. Yes, he did win 2 SEC titles. Unfortunately, they both came early. Okay. He won them, I think, in his second year and in his fifth year. And so he had gone, I think his last 10 years at Georgia, he had not won the SEC. He had gotten to the game 3 times, but he hadn't won it. And so by the end, the Georgia faithful were like, listen, great guy, good coach, but we want to be great. And we don't ever think we'll be great with him. Okay, but that was going to lead me, Mark, to where I wanted to go now. We're having trouble coming up with a couple of current head coaches that you would get rid of James Franklin and Steve Sarkisian for at places like Penn State and Texas. You do have to take that into mind. And they're going to come up with, by the way, Mark, you're right. Franklin's buyout, 48 and change. Sarkisian's 45 and change.
So I think, like, while I don't know if Lane would leave Ole Miss for Florida, I really don't. I think he would for Texas. And I'm not trying to diss Florida here. I'm not. But their NIL is not where they're probably there now. But their NIL is no different than Ole Miss's NIL. It's not.
That would be very interesting, though, also because, like, Lane and Sark are friends. They've been on the same staffs together at USC, at Alabama. Okay, even though when Lane got fired as offensive coordinator at Alabama before the Natty, Sark replaced him. But I mean, I don't know that they're tight, but they are friends.
But
okay, but yeah, I'm just throwing that out there. That's all.
But okay, James. Like, Lane to me is square peg round hole at Penn State. That just doesn't philosophically work. And maybe they would say, I'll be damned, but I don't see that personality working well with the Penn State people. I could be wrong. I don't know what you think, David, but like, because Lane's kind of the hot guy out there. If that's one of the first names that comes up.
Ryan McGee just did a big sit down with Lane. I think Ryan knows him pretty well. The word coming out now, where Lane is in his life now, is that there's probably only one gig he'd leave Ole Miss for.
Bama?
Yeah. All right. And I would advise them against it, but that's just so now, when somebody puts the offer on paper, maybe things change. But here's the other thing that I want to bring up. So they replaced Mark Richt at Georgia with Kirby Smart. Kirby had never been a head coach before, but obviously he was a dog. Played there 4 years. They were good during his tenure. They weren't great, by the way, but they were good. I mean,
And he was good, and
he was.
He was a guy that they really liked.
Right.
And he was with Alabama and Nick,
who
was doing everything that they wanted.
Yeah. And I think
there's not a Nick out there. I mean, there's not a Nick out there right now, is there?
Well, that's part of it, number one. But the other part is that there's only been 2 guys, Mark, I believe, in the last 10 years that were the hot shot assistant that went and got their first head coaching job at a big school and have nailed it. Kirby and Dan Lanning. And ironically, Lanning was the defensive coordinator under Kirby at Georgia. So there's 2 things here. First off, there's no obvious hot shot coordinator that you're going to go and pluck. This guy is a great head coach in waiting. If there is, I'm not hearing it. I'm sure there is. I'm just saying Kirby was talked about for years. Will Muschamp was talked about for years. Now, they weren't necessarily right about Will. Okay? But so that's number one. Number 2, now, fine. You want to get rid of Franklin. You want to get rid of Sark. Fine. Boom. Done. Came up with the money. Boom. They're gone. Okay. Now who? Now what? Like Texas A&M went Mike Elko. The folks there went nuts, by the way. Nuts. What in the world are you doing? This isn't good enough for us. Okay. I don't know. It turns out it looks like a pretty good hire, huh? Took just a little while. Just a little bit. Well, it looks like Mike Elko's up to the job, isn't he?
Could you pry Heupel away from Tennessee? Doing a hell of a job there. It's a style that people like. I don't know if it wins natties, David, but.
All right, I'll give you a guy. Do you want to pry Shane Beamer away from South Carolina? Maybe you don't ask this question today, but Mark, maybe you ask this question in 6 weeks. Okay. You and I like to talk because we were big fans of Bobby Bowden. We were in the tank for Bobby. We were. We admitted it while Bobby was coming on the show. All right.
We love Bobby.
Yeah, absolutely love him.
I
love him more now.
I mean,
okay.
For the coaching reasons and a lot of others.
Yeah,
I mean,
everything.
We did. We had his secretary's phone number.
Yes.
How we got interviews, and I know we've told this story a bunch, but our producer, John Cassio, had a relationship with Bobby's secretary. And he would call her, say, it's John in Fort Myers. How are you? Is Coach around? And she would put her hand over the phone. Coach, it's the guys in Fort Myers. You got a minute? Put them through. That's not a joke. That's how we got Bobby Bowden on the show.
More than
her during the day, and she'd say he's free around 5, or he's free at 3. We were doing afternoons at the time. He's free at 3:30. Call then. I'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
And then so John would call back, and we'd come into the show, and John would say, "Hey, we might be able to get Coach Bowden today." And then he'd call her.
Okay.
We'd get a commercial break. He'd call her. She'd put us through to Coach Bowden. He'd give us the thumbs up. That is how we booked Bobby Bowden. That is no joke. That is no exaggeration. That is a fact.
We used to joke going to break on the air. We'd say, well, we're going to call Coach Bowden's secretary, and we may come back with the coach after the break. Then again, we may not. We'll let you know. So, Mark, Bobby, when he was building Florida State in the early 80s, he had a 5-week stretch. He played all the games on the road. They were all against teams ranked in the top 20. This was before Florida State was Florida State. Florida State went 3-2 in those 5 consecutive road games against top 20. Wasn't 25 then, it was just 20. Top 20 teams. And pretty impressive group when you go back and you look at it. Mark, now listen, we can debate whether or not these teams are ranked properly or what have you, but I'm sure you could have debated that back in the early 80s too. Shane Beamer in South Carolina's next 5 games. They're at number 11 LSU. That's the worst game of the stretch. Because then they're home for number 6 Oklahoma, for number 8 Alabama, they're at number 4 Ole Miss, and they're at number 5 Texas A&M. Those are his next 5 games in a row. And I don't think there's a bye week involved. So right now, would you give him, would you take 2 if you're South Carolina? Would you take 1 if you were South Carolina? But I'm wondering, Mark, who's the guy? Who's the guy? Like, I will say, he's got ties to Penn State and that part of the world, but Matt Rule, like, would Penn State fan lose their mind if they hired Matt Rule? Or does he have to do something at Nebraska first?
I'll give you another name, and people I think would freak out. But to me, by the end of the year, he's going to be on that list of hot coaches. Brent Key from Georgia Tech.
Okay.
But I want you to think in terms, look, you know what? Hell, I'm not even going to talk because I don't think there are any Texas fans listening. If there are 2. There probably are some Penn State fans listening. Where we're broadcasting around the state of Florida, people are from everywhere. But Gator fan, I want to talk to you right now because I don't believe you want Alex Golesh. Some of you do. You know, we had that interview with him, and I got a lot of people texting, we got to hire this guy right now. When the year's over, they may not win the American. They're not picked to.
Well, no. I mean, heck, think about it. There's 5 big teams in the American. They play 3 of them on the road. They play Memphis, Navy, and North Texas on the road.
Like, I would say Tulane and Memphis are ahead of them. If they get them, great. But Brett Key at Georgia Tech, Florida fan, is that good enough for you? Because you want Napier out. And I don't think you can get Lane.
Shane Beamer good enough?
Yeah, which of those would you want? Because that's what I think you can get.
Just asking, is that good enough? We're talking a power 4 guy, so you're not hiring a group of 5 guy like you did last time, and that, some of you were like, I don't want to go there. Okay. Never mind, like Mark says, never mind the Penn State and Texas folk. Okay. This is who we're coming up with here. Would you want to pry Bielema away from Illinois and say, come on, Brett, we all know you've done about as much as you can do at Illinois. You had a 10-win season last year if you count the bowl game, preseason top 15 this year. Say you put another, who knows, say you put a 9-3 on the board this year. Come on. How much more are you going to do at Illinois?
I know he wouldn't come back to Florida, but Penn State, Dan Mullen. That do anything for you? Has he learned his lessons from his mistakes at Florida? And now that he's back coaching again, is that a guy that you'd want?
Now, this is interesting. Dan, when he went from Mississippi State to Florida, tried to do the same philosophy, and it didn't necessarily work. His best players were actually who he inherited from McElwain. When Dan's recruiting classes were coming in, they weren't good enough. But now, Mark, since it's all about money, okay, now would Dan be better now for a major job than he was when he took the Florida job? Because now it's not so much beating the bushes for the high school kids. All right. I'm just curious. I don't know. I don't know if Dan, what held him back at Florida was, he was not a good enough recruiter. The next wave of talent after what he inherited wasn't good enough, blah, blah, blah. Well, now that it's all about the Benjamins, would Dan be fine? He would just have to hire the right staff.
Right. And there's a very interesting article put out about guys that have come back, and it's too early to tell with, Rich Rod and a couple of the others that have returned home to see if it works, but it usually doesn't. And the other one that you have to throw out there, David, that we've not yet said, Curt Cignetti. Come on. What he's done in a short time at Indiana is amazing. It is amazing.
Yeah.
They've never been good at football. I believe the last time they had a shot at a Big Ten before these past 2 years was 1987. I only know that because Michigan State won the Big Ten that year, and to clinch it, they had to beat Indiana. Think about how down that conference was that year. Michigan State played Indiana for the Big Ten before title games.
I was going to say,
Are you kidding me?
college football fans going, where the hell was Ohio State and Michigan?
Right.
What was going on?
Already beat them both that year. My freshman year in college. Trust me, it didn't happen very often. I remember these things.
So, I'm just curious. Listen, a guy that I'm very high on, Jed Fish at Washington, and Mark knows this. I was pounding the table for him when he was at Arizona. Okay, I think he can really coach. Didn't have his best day, by the way, against Ohio State. All right, because he's also the offensive coordinator, and I wasn't crazy about his decision-making in that game.
But if it wasn't for a hell of a comeback, he'd have lost to Maryland the next week. But I'm big on him. I think Jed Fish would crush it at Penn State. Crush it. But is that going to be good enough? They even going to entertain him? Arizona, Washington, winning 9 games at those places. Is that going to be enough? Because I don't think, I don't think you can pry Dan Lanning from Oregon. I don't. Do you think that row the boat guy at Minnesota, just needs to be at a bigger place to achieve more? Okay. I don't. I think he's a con. Okay. But he's doing just enough to keep the contract rolling over. I mean, remember, Ohio State hired Jim Tressel from Youngstown State. The great coach could be anywhere. We all know Chip Kelly was calling plays for a small school in New Hampshire, and a handful of years later had Oregon, tied late in the fourth quarter of a national championship game. So, I mean, who knows where the next great coach is? Miller and Moulton. The great 8 hour coming up. We'll talk some Rays Stadium, and we'll talk some college football with Bud Elliott on Miller and Moulton.
Todd and I are local. We're involved in our community. We live here, we work here, we're in our showroom every day. We love working with our guests. We love giving back to our community.
We are so excited about our new store. Same location, same team, new environment. Every day is like a grand reopening. Absolutely stunning when you walk through our doors now. Come experience the newness of the Diamond District. See what we've done with it.
Let's talk the big differences between Floormeisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floormeisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floormeisters backs their installer. So if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floormeister's prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floormeisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
American Paint Supplies, celebrating 30 years in Naples, is proud to be the exclusive Farrow & Ball dealer in Southwest Florida. The best thing to come from the UK since the Beatles, Farrow & Ball has the colors and paints at American Paint Supplies. See why all the designers and painters choose Farrow & Ball. For 30 years, American Paint Supplies provides the perfect pairing of service and expertise on 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. American Paint Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs.
Got a cracked window or foggy glass? Don't wait for the next storm to make it worse. Your local Glass Doctor Home and Business is just down the road and ready to help. From leaky frames to shattered panes, we've got the tools and the know-how to get your home or business storm ready. With flexible scheduling and our done right promise, you'll be in good hands. So before or after the weather hits, call your neighbors at Glass Doctor.
Glass Doctor, Glass Doctor. Call the Glass Doctor, we fix your pains. Oh yeah!
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at PelicanRoofingCompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And With a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. capecops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Wes, I will say the guy at Vandy's interesting. He's a Vandy guy, but come on, are you really staying there? I think that's an interesting guy. JP is joining us by video this morning.
Hey.
I sent him a text and just asked. I said, no big deal either way. I said, our YouTube audience loves it when they come on that way and the sound quality is better. Got a guy in the text lines like, Florida doesn't want Golish or Beamer. I'm like, who do they want? And I get Kiffin, Gruden, Lanning. I'm like, Gruden would, if they offered it to Gruden, he'd jump at it. But Lanning ain't leaving Oregon to come to Florida.
No way.
No way. I don't know, Panda, here's the thing. I don't think there are many people out there. I think David and I, because of the job we have, are college football fans. I could be wrong, and maybe you are. I don't think most of you are college football fans. You're fans of your team. And that's all right. That's how I was when I was a fan. I didn't give a damn about, I wanted Michigan State to win and Michigan to lose. That was a great Saturday for me. Michigan State played Nebraska. I had 7 games going. I was paying the least amount of attention to my alma mater because I was paying attention to Florida, Texas, and Vandy and Alabama. They were better games, bigger games. I like the best game. There he is. Look at that. JP, thank you so much for doing it this way. Really appreciate it.
Man, this is how we do my show. This is easy.
Right.
It's real
right
TV.
On. Just a heads up, obviously, as you know, YouTube and Twitch, even though we're not on the radio, they're all hearing us right now.
Okay.
I always let people know before you say something you don't want out there.
I was this close.
Yeah.
I was this close. Everybody's out there. Say it. No, I would never. Well, I would, but.
Right.
We know you would. That's why we like having you on the show. You let it fly.
What's up, boys?
Hey,
So
best
you guys-
time of the
I
year,
was
man. A
listening
little
to
hockey,
you-
a little baseball playoffs, a lot of football. This is great.
It's fantastic. I was listening to you guys in the afternoon on 1010. I found you. So, here in Tampa.
Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah. We're everywhere.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Halfway home on this hump day, at least in the 239, the 904, and in Tampa St. Pete. We are Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. He does his own show 10 to noon weekdays, and he does podcasts all the time if something big is going on in the Tampa St. Pete area. Nobody covers sports in Tampa St. Pete as well, in our opinion, as JP Peterson, host of the JP Peterson Show, FanStream Sports app, fanstreamsports.com, and on YouTube, the JP Peterson Show. Follow him on X at JP Peterson Show. JP, how you been?
Good morning, Miller and Moulton. How we doing, boys? Busy time. We wouldn't have it any other way, right?
Absolutely not. You were at the presser yesterday. First off, just a surreal moment. You've been out ahead of this story for 2 years at minimum. I'm just curious your reaction to finally being in that moment. These are the new owners. They're talking about the future that us Rays fans have always hoped for. I'm just curious, not just JP Peterson, the sports talk show host, but how about JP Peterson, the Tampa Bay resident?
Well, I think you nailed it right there, David. I've been working this story and passionately working to try and get regime change here in Tampa Bay. Not because of anything personal against Stu Sternberg, but just because of how poorly this franchise has been run in terms of getting a stadium done. Which, listen. This is the holy grail for this franchise, and it means a lot. It's not just about a stadium. It's about the fans. It's about keeping the baseball in Tampa Bay, and baseball is such an integral part of the fabric of the culture of Tampa Bay. It goes back, so long to Al Lopez, our first, and the Cuban Americans and Italians that came over here and played baseball in Ybor City. I mean, it's part of our literal cultural fabric. And it was being just usurped in such a horrible way. And now you've got guys who truly love Tampa Bay, who truly want to make something big and great and keep this team here for generations to come. And you could tell yesterday, and I've had conversations with some of them, they are passionate about this. This is not just a business deal. I think you heard Ken Babby and Patrick Zalupski and Bill Cosgrove really talk in a very authentic way about, baseball has been their lives. They're passionate about it, and they want to be part of something that's bigger than just themselves and a business deal and making money. And I believe them when they say it, because I know what they've gone through to get this done. And it has been no small task, and it's very expensive, and it's a risk certainly that they're taking. But it is one born of passion for baseball and passion for the Tampa Bay area. And when you connect those two things, there's going to be great things happening in Tampa Bay, and that's what I'm so happy about.
You look at what the Lightning did with their last ownership group and the way they changed downtown, and that whole area is different than when I first started going to Lightning games. 15 years ago. It's a totally different animal. And what I loved yesterday was hearing them say, what the Braves did is the gold standard. Yep. That's what we're trying to do. That's not just building a stadium, JP. That's taking whatever area it is. If it's Ybor, if it's by the dog track that they talked about, the fairgrounds, wherever they end up getting their 100 acres, they're going to change that area for the better. And that, to me, if you're a Tampa resident, to me, you have to be as excited about that as the new ownership group.
Oh, 100%, 100%. This is going to be an incredible project that's going to bring, much needed housing in terms of, it's going to be more condos and more apartments, but we need them, right? And, more retail, more places to go, more things to do. And it's not just going to be a baseball stadium. It's going to be a concert venue, which frankly, we need one about that size, indoors. It's going to be iconic. It's just, it's those things that make this place where you live so much better and so much greater. And I think they're going to do a hell of a job. I personally think through all the machinations, I thought Ybor City was going to be the spot, but some things that I've heard recently from real estate people and some things I've heard yesterday, I think everything that is starting to point towards HCC across from Raymond James Stadium. So making that kind of a sports megaplex, because if they're going to get this done by 2029, they've got to have a place that is shovel ready. And Ybor City is not that. And Ybor Harbor is most certainly not that. So with all the criteria that they put out there yesterday, and there's been a report in the Tampa Bay Business Journal, which I've confirmed that there have been already some negotiations in purchasing the HCC plot. And that's also state-owned land. And Zalewski and DeSantis obviously are very close and connected at the hip. And DeSantis has said they're not going to pay for a stadium, but they will do infrastructure, land acquisition, and that fits in that particular space as well. I don't think it would be as iconic as maybe a water stadium, but I don't care. If they can get it done by 2029, which I think is important, it's important to them in terms of bringing more revenue, because about every year that they don't have it done, that's about $150 million in revenue that they're not extra revenue they're not making. So they are highly motivated to get this done by 2029.
JP Peterson, host of the JP Peterson Show, FanStream Sports app, fanstreamsports.com. Also, JP Peterson has a YouTube channel, 10 to noon Eastern weekdays. JP Peterson, check him out. He knows what's going on in the Tampa Bay sports scene. All right, the 100 acres. Is that what rules out Ybor City?
No, I asked the mayor directly yesterday, Mayor Castor, if there's 100 acres in Ybor, and she said, yes, there is. Now, I don't think that would be Ybor Harbor, but that could be in combination with other plots. But she said there is 100 acres in Ybor City. And she also said that, and I think her words have been a little bit misconstrued. She said, no tax dollars going to the stadium. And what she meant by that is property tax dollars, not SITS tax dollars, not CRA, special taxing district dollars. That would basically is what the gold standard, the Atlanta battery, was built on, and also there's SITS tax and bed tax. So that is money that is available. But she was talking about property tax, so I think that was taken a little bit out of context. So I asked her, I said, there's a false narrative that's been going around, and the reporter that's been spreading those false narratives was right next to me, and I said, can you put those to rest? She says, absolutely. We have money to do this. We're not writing a blank check like basically the other regime wanted, but we have money to make this happen. And this group is interested in a true public-private partnership. They are not interested in getting a stadium for free like Stu Sternberg was. And that's what's going to make this deal happen. When you have two interested parties that want to come together and do something great, and one party's not just looking to suck all the public money out of the like Sternberg was, you can get this done. And that's why I think it's going to get done.
Last question on the baseball for me is, are they going to be able to keep all of the baseball people? I mean, it's a new ownership. You want to bring in your own people, but let's be honest, as bad as the business side was for the Rays, the baseball side's been great doing it with no money.
Yeah, that's the beautiful part of it. Neander was there yesterday, and he had a press conference last week, and he's very, very upbeat. He didn't want to speak for the new owners as far as where payroll is going. And I was trying to get a question in on payroll, but the old PR department, which is still, I guess, run by the old folks, were not going to let me ask a question. And but whatever, who cares? I was going to ask about payroll and get a little bit more specifics. But in my conversations with some of their representatives, they want to incrementally get the payroll up. And once the new stadium hits, that's what the Braves did. $134 million in new money. And they put that right back into the team, and they won a World Series. That's the template. What the Braves did. And what the Braves did was get a lot more revenue to make the team better. And that's what's happening.
Well, and if they do what the Braves did, the Braves signed like 6 key guys to long-term deals also. Right. And that's obviously, if you followed the Rays, that seemingly they have to let their good players go because they can't afford
Not anymore.
All right. Final question about the Rays. Can they get a shovel in the ground by March, which would give them 3 years almost to the day? Can this project be completed in 3 years?
Well, I'm no construction expert, so I don't know that. I know the Braves did it in 2.5 years. I know construction things are different these days. Some would make it get done quicker, some less. I just know that in that triumvirate that you had up there, you had a developer in Patrick Zalewski with Dreamfinders Homes who knows how to build things. you have a money guy in Bill Cosgrove who knows how to finance things, and you have a business guy in Ken Babby who knows how to build stadiums and market and promote the team. To me, that covers it all. These guys are well funded, and the list of by the way, the list of other investors is very, very impressive, has a very big local feel to it here in Tampa Bay. So they, this other misnomer that they overpaid for the team, don't have any money, is completely ridiculous. They got plenty of money and they got access to plenty of money. So with those ingredients, I think they can get it done. I really do.
All right, JP, I do want to switch gears. You cover the Lightning a lot. And right now, I claim the best rivalry in sports today, not just hockey, in sports today, is the Lightning and the Panthers. Just how much hatred is there towards the Panthers, not just from the team, but for the fan base? We know the Miami fan. They show up when they're good. The Lightning have now generations of fans. I worked with the Atlanta Knights when they were the farm club to Tampa, so I've watched this forever. How much just pure hatred is there in Tampa towards the Panthers?
A lot. It's boiled over, and that's, I think it may even be more on the player side than the fan side right now, because what we saw on the ice these last two games is ridiculous, number one, and it's completely instigated by the Panthers. And the fact that the NHL just absolutely ignored disciplining them is unconscionable. And they're the reason that we have this issue, because they haven't adjudicated these issues from the very beginning. They acted like this thing started on Saturday night. It started in the playoffs, and it's the Panthers that have gone over the line multiple times, not just with the Lightning, by the way, with Toronto and almost every other team. And the rest of the NHL is sick of it, and it's ruining the game. They want to bring back this bully style and just take stars out of the game with illicit hits. That's not hockey. But the Lightning, I could tell you, as an organization, did not want to get mixed up in that. They were forced to. When you allow a scrub to sucker punch Brandon Hagel twice and do nothing about it, what the hell do you think? Are we just supposed to sit there and take that? At some point, you got to bully the bully. And the NHL basically forced us to do what we did on Saturday night. And now you got what you got. And it's in November 18th, I think, is that we made in regular season. Woo! Get some tickets to that one, kids.
JP Peterson, his show begins 10 a.m. weekdays. FanStreamSports.com, FanStream Sports app.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Let's talk the big differences between Floormeisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floormeisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floormeisters backs their installer. So if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floormeisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floormeisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at PelicanRoofingCompany.com. CCC 1332512. For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to NolanAgency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or NolanAgency.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Everybody's got to settle down. Governor was making a joke. When we were talking right before the interview of let him say something, he said, I got to say this. He said, LOL, let him speak. The LOL right there, everyone, was key. Michael, you jumped a guy for a joke. Come on now. Read. All I can ask you to do is read. Wow. Wow. Holy Christ. I love JP.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I sent JP a quick text. Said, awesome as always. Thanks. He's like, thanks, guys. You're the best. Appreciate all the plugs and kind words, but once is plenty. You're very gracious in that regard, but you don't have to do all that. I'm blushing. Too funny. Too funny. Oh, look at that, Empire. Look at the Tampa fan. Got a text saying the same thing. So it's the 15th in Sunrise, the 18th in Tampa.
There we go.
Damn.
You wish it was a little closer together, but then again,
No, hang on. It's November. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong dates. Yeah, Saturday, oh my goodness, it's a 5 p.m. start to at Sunrise for whatever reason.
I'm wondering if it's because of college football.
I don't know. There's a lot of good games that day. That was the only thing that's Georgia, Texas. Ole Miss got a good game. Bama's got a good game. I don't remember the list off the top of my head, but I was looking at tickets and then looking at the college football schedule.
Yeah, Georgia's last two games, right, are Texas and Georgia Tech.
Is that right? Not saying you're wrong. I'm just double checking. No, there's Georgia's got a big non-con game in between that. They play
Charlotte. Got it.
But yeah, Georgia's got Texas the 15th. Bama's got Oklahoma the 15th.
Somebody asked earlier, yeah, my travel, this is 3 Saturdays in a row in the Pacific time zone. It'll be Seattle, LA, and this coming Saturday is Eugene, Oregon.
Florida, Ole Miss on the 15th. That's a pretty good college football Saturday.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Bud Elliott will join us to talk college football in a little more than 15 minutes' time. JP Peterson was just on the show. Bud Elliott will join us shortly. Chris Perkins at the top of the hour. JP, Bud, Chris, and all our guests joining us. American Paint Supplies Hotline, your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. So just
I love the JP there, just quickly on the text line, the Pelican Roofing of Florida text line, because we've got some in the Twitch chat room that are giving Go Panthers. And great. I love the fact that you're in. And if you're a Panther fan now, let's hope you stay that way. But there are more Lightning fans in the state than there are Panther fans. They have more history. They just do. But this person texts in, great to hear JP's take on the Panthers instead of kissing their asses like so many people down here do. I just remember that when that arena was so quiet, you could hear a pin drop. Fake fans.
Oh, it's on.
November 15th, Saturday, 5 o'clock in Sunrise. That's the first one. They go back to Tampa December 15th. Just letting you know. And I will say, JP's right. To think this started in the 2 preseason games is
ridiculous. Right. This goes back to, it goes back, but it really goes back to last year's playoff series. All right. There was I forget who the Lightning player was that made the hit on Barkov. And Barkov missed, I think, the rest of that game. I don't think he missed any more time, but he missed the rest of that game. And I'm trying to remember if the Lightning player was suspended for a game or not. But when he came back, all right, Ekblad elbowed him in the head and gave him a concussion, and he missed the rest of the series. Yeah, Hagel.
That was Hagel.
And right. And so and
Ekblad, they went after Ekblad in the
right.
game.
Now Ekblad
called up.
Right. Ekblad was suspended for 2 games, but the series didn't go 2 games longer. It only went a game longer. And so, Ekblad had to sit out the first game of the next series, but the preseason was the first chance really for the Lightning. That's how they viewed it, to go after Ekblad. But then for whatever reason, a Lightning player went after Hagel again, probably because he hit Barkov. And so anyway, it's real. This is real. In 2025, it's tough to keep teams together, the core of teams together, so that the hatred can sustain. But it's on. It's on. This is serious. Barkov is the best player that the Panthers have, who now has gotten hurt and is likely out for the year. Hagel is one of the top 5 players on the Lightning. Hagel even said it when he said, wow, now we're going after guys' heads. Okay? So, yes, it's on. Both sides blame the other.
Yeah, I think I got to get tickets November 15th. And I just got more. It's a huge college football Saturday.
Yes, it is.
But it's a 5 o'clock start in Sunrise.
Uh-huh.
1, if I wanted to come back, I could. 2,
sure.
I could just do a night down at the beat, down to the Elbow Room in Lauderdale if I want with the wife.
Right.
And it was funny. I asked her, I'm like, you up for going? She goes, we bring in our daughter? I'm like, no, we're not. No. Matter of fact, we're not.
No, we've got a babysitter. She's got friends.
Right.
Okay, no, we can arrange for this.
Exactly.
Right. But JP Peterson, kind enough to join us once again here on Miller and Moulton. I don't want to upset you, but I waited a day. Did you see the announcement that the Spring Football League made?
I don't care.
Well, we're aware of that. Okay.
So they took some teams and they got rid of them and they added some teams. Are they playing the games in Birmingham still? This is like the indoor golf league, for crying out loud.
No, I think they're past that. I think they're actually trying to get people to show up in the cities that they represent.
They're not, but okay.
Well, I believe that now they are.
St. Louis. Okay. No, they're not showing up. They show up in St. Louis.
Yeah, and maybe one other place. But anyway, Memphis lost their team. The Panthers
are gone.
The Panthers, I think, are gone.
They're gone.
Yeah, Michigan lost their team. Anyway, Louisville, Columbus, Ohio, and Orlando, the 3 new cities in the UFL. They're replacing Memphis, Michigan, and I don't know off the top of my head who the third one was. I forgot them. So anyway, and they specifically said we don't want to play in the 70,000 seat stadiums. We want to try to find the 15 to 30,000 seat stadiums. We wanted to have a good looking product, an enjoyable atmosphere, have you? Okay. So anyway, I found it interesting. If you go back a generation when the Arena Football League was a thing, the Orlando Tampa Bay rivalry was pretty intense. Okay, it was called the I-4 War, I think before UCF and South Florida tried to have it. But anyway, the Tampa Bay Arena team was known as the Tampa Bay Storm. Apparently, the Orlando franchise is the Orlando Storm.
San Antonio, David, was the other team that's gone.
Okay, all right. So anyway, I just, so football coming to Orlando. We'll see if anyone cares. I know my co-host doesn't.
Any WNBA news you want to share?
Phoenix down 2-0 in the series tonight, yet they're 3.5-point favorites, Mark.
What about the Indy Racing League?
The Aces have lost like 2 games in 3 months. You can get them in 3.5. I'm just saying. Any Indy Racing League.
Back, folks.
Worst off, it wasn't 5 minutes. It was 2 minutes and 13 seconds, and it was done strategically, short segment, the whole deal. Just wanted to get it in. I didn't include it in a starting 5. My bad. So I just, boom, just a quick insert. Boom.
Thank you, John Madden.
And now that little update was brought to you by Ace Hardware. Ace is the place.
I know you're trying to do Madden and a joke there. Could you at least attach one of our sponsors to it? Glass Doctor, American Paint Supplies, Floormeister, Cape Coral Police Department.
You went Madden. I brought up a Madden sponsor. Come on now.
I acknowledge that. Bring the show back. You did this to me. You did it on purpose too. You strategically decided to do something to get the worst out of me.
Brought to you by Floormeisters.
Just keeping it real in the UFL.
Baxberg suggests it was brought to you by Tough Acting Tinactin. Not that advertising works or anything. Madden's been dead a few years, okay? He hadn't done these sponsorships in 15, and we can still associate them together.
I remember working in hockey for a minor league team, and Gord Fronte was one of our players, and it was in the playoffs. Mark Jones was our trainer. And Mark Jones, a lot of equipment manager, he was the equipment manager. Mark Jones, every once in a while, would chirp from the bench. And a lot of equipment managers would chirp from the bench. It's not uncommon for them to chirp at a player, particularly in the minors. And he decided in the locker room during the playoffs to chirp towards one of the players. And I knew it was coming. And I had my tape recorder because I was getting ready to do interviews. So I just hit record. And Gord Fronte undressed our equipment manager for what seemed to be 15 minutes. And all I remember is that Mark Jones had a Tough Actin' Tinactin shirt on. And he just kept going, that's right. That's the perfect shirt for you. Tough acting. Because that's all you can act is tough. Because if anything ever happened, you'd curl up in a ball like a cat. Miller and Moulton, brought to you by Tough Actin' Tenactin. Bud Elliott next. Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Let's talk the big differences between Floormeisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floormeisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floormeisters backs their installer, so if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floormeisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floormeisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floormeisters, just keeping it
Mark
real.
Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
This is Miller and Moulton.
So Vicky's, huh, Michael? Is it in Edison? I don't feel like scrolling back. Morning, bud. Can you hear us? Bud?
Bud?
He's on mute. No, it's on his end.
Bud, we can't.
You're muted. You've muted your microphone.
You guys good?
There we go.
There we go.
All right.
You were muted there. I don't know
Yeah,
what.
I was on a call. My bad.
No worries. Saw the lips moving and no words. So I just that is the one thing that will get us nervous.
Oh man, you guys been well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice, man.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Another great big weekend this weekend coming. And it's funny when the big week, I mean, obviously that huge weekend with Alabama, Georgia, and Penn State, Oregon delivered. But it seems like when you don't expect it to be a good weekend is when you get these great weekends.
Yeah. I mean, the Penn State upset obviously, did quite a bit for the weekend. This weekend is phenomenal.
A phenomenal weekend.
Yeah.
But I mean, even, Florida, Texas was worth watching every bit of, even though there was a lot of bad. That Alabama Vandy was a game mid-third.
Yeah.
Virginia beating Louisville. I mean, there was a lot going on Saturday. I literally at one point had I'd one on the multi-screen and 2 games up. I'm watching 6 games at once going, I don't have enough televisions.
I agree. This weekend though, I feel like is one like you have to, you got to have multi-screens. Have to.
Yes. There's no doubt. No doubt. And they should be like this almost the rest of the way until we get to the weekend before rivalry weekend.
Yeah. Well, I think next week doesn't next weekend suck?
Does it?
I was looking at one of these. It's like, okay, this is a pretty good weekend to like, you know.
Well, the following weekend, I mean, we do get Louisville, Miami on Friday.
Yeah.
You know, Washington, Michigan should be interesting. Old Miss, Georgia.
Ole Miss, Georgia could be interesting.
Texas Tech, Arizona State. I mean, there's a little meat on the bone.
A lot of this, like, obviously, this is a tautology, but like a lot of this matters what happens this weekend, right? Like, if Auburn gets smashed by Georgia and Missouri loses to Bama, that, like, you know, Missouri at Auburn's not real sexy, right? You know, Oklahoma, South Carolina. I don't think that has a whole, like, I think that could be a meaningful game. I don't think it has a ton of juice, you know. Like LSU Vandy, I think if you're like a real ball knower, you know, Vandy like is actually pretty decent this year, not just lucky. But like, I don't think it's like a super sexy game with how LSU's been playing. Yeah, it's not a bad one. Like Tennessee, Bama should be good. You know, USC, Notre Dame, if they get their guys back, is worth seeing.
Yeah, next 10 days determines USC season.
Yeah, 100%. Yes. And Notre Dame badly needs them to not go in the take.
Oh, man.
Correct. Although,
yeah,
I don't know. It'd be interesting to me, like with Penn State's loss, think about it. If you're Notre Dame, even if Penn State runs the table, you can raise your hand and go, and
I don't know. Penn State will have beaten Ohio State then.
Right. Yeah, I know.
It's like, do they care about do they care about your wins is really what that question is? Or do they care about like the quality of play and you know,
your loss?
Right.
And when they lost. So,
which I don't think should matter a ton, but they clearly consider it some.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes till Chris Perkins joins us to talk Dolphins at the top of the hour. We are Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Bud Elliott joins us at this day and time. You know Bud, 24/7 Sports, CBS Sports, Nolecast, Cover 3 podcast. Follow him on X, Bud Elliott, 2 L's, 2 T's, and the number 3. Bud Elliott 3. Before we go forward, and there is a lot of meat on the bone this week, and we want to get to it. So, what do you do if you're a Penn State and you're a Texas, and the guy you got seems to be Mark Richt, and what you want is Kirby and Dan Lanning and that next level coach? I mean, you know, Kirby was talked about for 2-3 years as the next great coach. What job was he going to take? You help us out here. We all know the head coaches that are out there, but Kirby and Dan Lanning are the only two coordinators who have never been head coaches before who have done it in a big way in the last 10 years. Is there anybody else that these schools can go to, or do they have to hire the Brent Keys and the Shane Beamers of the world?
The thing is, though, like you don't actually know how those guys were going to do, right? Like those guys worked out, but there's also a ton of examples of coordinators who didn't, right? I mean, Jeremy Pruitt, I think, like, you know, relative to how long he was there, probably did a better job with Bama's defense than Kirby did. And he was a terrible head coach, like flopped unbelievably. And Pruitt did it at 2 spots, right? You know, so I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily a guarantee. You know, you also in Lanning and Kirby, you got to 2 places that were, you know, already well resourced, and then when they got there, man, they just absolutely fired the money cannon, like incredibly well resourced. Like Georgia's like changing state laws to prevent, you know, like people from finding out information about the program. You know, like that's a level of commitment that is hard to find. If we're looking for coordinator, I know, but I think it's true.
No, it's true. It is true.
I'm sorry for laughing and disrupting the interview. I'm sorry, my bad.
So no, it's cool. Like, so Kirby, like, I think Kirby Moore at Missouri, you know, does a really good job play calling. But if I'm a big school, you know who's always found good coordinators, and apparently on both sides of the ball, is Drinkwitz. Like, he's a little goofy, but Drinkwitz is like Mullen if Mullen cared about recruiting, and that's a pretty big deal. And is also like seemingly really cared about hiring good D coordinators and not like a Todd Grantham type, which I know is probably going to give Florida fans some flashbacks here on this Wednesday morning. I think that's a guy. Like if you're like a top 10 program, you're not going to leave Missouri for like Arkansas or Missouri for Auburn, I don't think. But although I'm sure Auburn fans would hate to hear that. But if you're like a really, really top tier program, I would go get Missouri's coach. Like he's made Missouri like legitimately competitive in the SEC every year. Like that would make sense to me. I think Baker does a pretty good job with LSU's defense. By the way, it's another guy that Drinkwitz hired. Obviously, they're at Missouri now. He's LSU's DC. I think Shannon Dawson at Miami is a pretty good play caller. I think he does a nice job as their offensive coordinator. Granted, like you're playing in the ACC and you have a huge money advantage, so you wouldn't have quite that resource advantage relative to competition at wherever you go, assumedly. But I think there's some good head coaches out there you should go look at.
If you're Penn State and you can, whether they buy out or come to a mutual agreement that it's time for Franklin to move on, would you go Cignetti at Indiana?
I would. I think the guy's a real winner. I think a lot of ADs want to find this like 15-year solution, and I think that is probably a bit of a blind spot, maybe a leak in some of these games of these athletics directors, because Cignetti he's a little bit older. Like he's probably not going to be there 15 years, but like who is anymore? Like if you find a guy for 5, that's awesome. Like as an AD, you're probably not there for more than 5, So I just don't think they're going to make a change at Penn State. I don't know that. I don't have inside information on that, but like the buyout's huge.
Right.
The guy runs a really good operation, man. And I think the sport is changing a lot in terms of the compression. If you look at it, the best teams in the sport right now on a power rating scale are like a 25. 5 years ago, they were like a 31. So basically, like the best teams in the sport right now are a touchdown worse than they were 5 years ago because the talent is spread out so much more.
All right. Let's get to the meat on the bone. By the way, I do just want to say Penn State doesn't mind an older coach if it's the right guy. But
that is
boom.
True.
So you mentioned Cignetti in Indiana. We also mentioned Dan Lanning. Indiana just happens to visit Oregon. Could be the marquee game of the day, yet Oregon's favored by double digits. So how much of a puncher's chance does Indiana have? And are these two quarterbacks the leaders for the Heisman today?
Okay, they have somewhat of a puncher's chance because they do have some special guys at some of the marquee positions, right? Like Mendoza is a really good college quarterback. They have a very nice back. Surratt at receiver is one of the best in the country. Like they do have a nice little trio there on offense, and they have a really good play caller, and they have a scheme, and they're very clean. Like they very rarely beat themselves so far under Cignetti. That's kind of a trademark of a Cignetti team. Defensively, I think Indiana does have some pretty nice defensive linemen who, like, I don't think Oregon can just bowl them over necessarily. I would have some concerns, though. I think Indiana's secondary is gettable. So if Oregon's 2 and 3 receivers, Gary Bryant and Malik Benson, if they can step up a little bit, I assume Indiana's going to try to take away DeCorian Moore. But Penn State tried that too, and the freshman is just unbelievably good. He had like 10 targets in that game against Penn State, caught 7 balls, 100 yards type thing. And I think there is some chance Indiana's offensive line is maybe not up to snuff. So I do think Oregon is the pick here. I don't know they're going to kill them, but I just don't think Indiana's bodies across the board look like Oregon's bodies. But they are clean. Like they don't beat themselves, and they have a legitimate first-round quarterback. So teams like that typically don't get blown out.
Money has come in on Indiana. That point spread has dropped significantly from when it opened at 10.5. It's at 7.5 now.
If that hits 7, I think you'll see significant buyback on the Ducks.
I can see that as well. But Elliott's playoff predictions, by the way, is an SEC championship. It seems 6 SEC teams right now. And one of the teams that he has 9th, I think right now is the best team in the SEC. Texas A&M right now by resume. I don't know what it's going to be when it's all done, and I get all the reasons that people don't trust A&M. Their resume to me at this point is the best in the SEC. They host the Gators. The Gators are coming off a big win. If Florida plays the way they did for 3.5 quarters against Texas, they're a dangerous football team. Can they repeat their performance at A&M, who's like outperformed a lot of teams and been unable to blow out teams?
can and will. Like, can Florida repeat that performance? Sure, I'm sure that is in there. Will they? I don't know. The one difference here is that Texas offensive line, especially with some of these injuries, is probably like bottom third in the league right now. And A&M's offensive line is like decidedly top quarter. Like that's a good offensive line. They are healthy. They're veteran. They play together. They have a lot of guys who are probably going to play on Sundays. So I do not think Florida is going to bully them like they bullied that Texas offensive line. I actually thought Arch Manning played admirably in that game. He did have some misses, but man, he had a lot of really dirty pockets that he had to navigate. I would expect Marcel Reed to be kept much cleaner by A&M than Arch Manning was by Texas. Also, the fact that it's not in the swamp, it should help A&M there. A&M's been running the ball pretty well. Reuben Owens looks like a good back. He was a former 5-star, then got hurt. But that offensive line is really good. Colin Klein's a good play caller. And I think the most important thing with A&M this year, they lost so much from that defensive line. And I really had big questions like, what do they really have there? We knew they had some talent, but would that talent be ready on time? Some of those young guys have stepped up very nicely for the Aggies. So I'm interested to see. Florida's O-line is pretty good, I think. Honestly, I don't think they've been like the biggest problem for this Gators offense. Can they harass Lagway into making some mistakes? On the road, obviously, he was really pretty bad against LSU. So we'll see there.
Texas is favored against Oklahoma. That's obviously got to be because the expectation, even though he's still trying to play, is that Mateer won't. How can we trust Texas from what we've seen from them this year?
I don't know that you can, but I do trust that Hawkins is not a very good player for Oklahoma. They shut Kent State out and still didn't cover. And Kent State is awful. Like Kent State is worse than probably 20 or 30 or 40 FCS teams. So the fact you shut them out and you still can't cover that number is a little bit concerning, I would say. You really can't trust Texas. I think Oklahoma's offense is improved, but Oklahoma's offensive line is not very good. And, Texas does have a pretty damn good defensive line. They didn't harass Lagway a bunch, but Florida's offensive line is way better than what Oklahoma has. So I do think Texas can get after whichever quarterback is likely to play in that ball game. I think it's a pretty low-scoring game. If Mateer doesn't play especially, but neither of these teams block very well. So I guess they just trust Texas. Obviously, you're going to trust Arch more than you trust Hawkins. If it's Mateer, I can see the argument. If it was actually a healthy Mateer, I think Oklahoma's probably favored, just given the state of the Texas offense right now.
Florida State, and you cover Florida State really well. They weren't there for Miami. They just weren't. They came back at the end, but they were outclassed at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, the comeback was mostly garbage time.
Right.
Let's not. I guess I'm not giving them a whole lot of credit for not quitting. Miami was in prevent.
Pitt played BC, who's awful, but Pitt looked like they could run it a little bit. And Florida State, to me, defensively, if there's a soft spot, it's giving up the run. I look at this game and I think it's a little closer than 10.5. I don't know what you think.
Well, a couple things. BC looked to be in kind of disarray ever since they kind of got jobbed by the refs in some ways in that Michigan State game. Then they go on the road. They lose to Stanford. I think there's some worry on that staff. Some of those guys are going to get fired. We got a DM about this before the game. It was like, hey, they're trying to put in a bunch of new plays late in the week. This might be a real disaster, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, BC didn't score any points on a Pitt defense that has been kind of up and down so far this year. If you're making the Florida State case, it's all right. Now you got film on the Pitt freshman quarterback. And I do think Cade Bell is a hell of a play caller. Did a really nice job, here when he was in the state of Florida. But it is a little different going on the road. Pitt's left tackle went down kind of late in that game, didn't come back in. We know they have some depth issues there on the offensive line. So it's kind of one game from each. And Florida State's played a double overtime game against Virginia and lost. Virginia's an okay team. They're not great, but they don't suck. They've played Miami. Obviously, Miami outclassed them quite a bit, and then they beat Alabama by 2 touchdowns. So I could see it going either way. But will FSU show up? Do they care? They do not have a good track record under Mike Norvell of caring about conference games consistently.
USC Michigan, I think, is a much bigger game than people are talking about.
Yes.
It's at night in the Coliseum, although it'll be late afternoon in LA. If Michigan wins, Bud, they're probably going to be 10-1 playing Ohio State, and undefeated in the league. So USC Michigan, almost a toss-up. USC a slight favorite. Your thoughts?
First of all, awesome quarterback matchup. Maven Underwood is fantastic. Like the Big Ten has so many good quarterbacks this year.
Yeah.
I'm like thrilled watching these guys. USC has a lot of injuries to watch, like a lot. Like that center went down against Illinois when the backup came in. That was a real problem for them. Multiple injuries at backer and defensive back. Got to continue to monitor that situation. I think Michigan's pretty good, but ultimately, I do need to see them like actually turn some of these plays that look like they have a chance into like actual touchdowns, because you might need to score 35 in this game. Michigan's defense is not what it was last year. It's a good defense, but they don't have the same level of killers up front, especially on the interior of that defensive line. So you may need the offense to carry you here. This is a super exciting game to watch. I'm really and honestly, if you're a Notre Dame fan, Lord, you need USC to win here, because if USC beats Michigan, then you might actually have a real win on your resume as opposed to just 2 close losses.
Who the hell are the Georgia Bulldogs, and what's going to happen against Auburn?
I think they are a team that is probably the most victimized by the new rule of the no late shifting to try to get offenses to jump off sides or to false start. They are also a team that has way better skill position players than they had last year. And I think they're a team that probably chose poorly in terms of who to keep and who to retain and who to let go into the transfer portal on the defensive line, right? Last week was the first time they had a sack from a defensive lineman the entire year, which is wild. Wow. Considering what they've been. And they got a guy who's a decent quarterback. I don't think Stockton's anything special. I don't think he's awful, right? He doesn't look like a pro at this point, but he's not unplayable. Auburn's just been a mess, man, but they do play hard on defense. They do have a decent offensive line, I think, but they missed on quarterback. I know Auburn's like, hey, man, if you get blown out in this game, Freeze probably ain't coaching next week. So I know we are definitely on alert to be doing a Sunday emergency reaction podcast if Auburn doesn't show up well for this.
All right, about 20 seconds. Auburn and Missouri, both at home, both 4 to 5 point dogs against Georgia and Alabama. Which one is the better puncher's shot?
I think Missouri, because I trust the offensive coaching staff, and I trust the quarterback.
All right. Got an upset?
Man, I feel like it's drying up some. All right, who do I really like upset-wise? Could Purdue get Minnesota? Could Minnesota have a little hangover? I could see that.
He's Bud Elliott, 24/7 CBS Nolecast Cover 3 podcast. Bud, as always, thanks.
See you guys.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
When Glass Doctor replaces your windshield, we don't just send you on your way, we send you off protected. Your local Glass Doctor includes the industry's only 12-month windshield protection plan at no extra cost. That means unlimited chip repairs and even a one-time replacement if needed. High-quality service backed by real peace of mind, right here in your neighborhood.
Glass Doctor, Glass Doctor. Call the Glass Doctor, we fix your pains. Oh, yeah.
Exclusions apply. See your local Glass Doctor for details.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie, John, and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at PelicanRoofingCompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Let's talk the big differences between Floor Meisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floor Meisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floormeisters backs their installer, so if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floormeister's prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floormeisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floormeisters, just keeping it real. The Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. Capecops.com. Be brave, be best. Be Cape.
Football season is back, and celebrate your game day with Jimmy the Beef Guy. We're talking tender, juicy Chicago beef sandwiches. Whether your party's for 10, 100, or 200, bring game day to your house with Jimmy the Beef Guy. The catering packages come with the beef, the gravy, the peppers, the bread, everything you need. 2 convenient locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. Skip the ordinary and bring the beef. Jimmy the Beef Guy, Chicago flavor, Southwest Florida style. Call today or visit jimmythebeefguy.com. Tell him Miller and Moulton sent you.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Hey.
Hey, what's up, David? How are you, man?
Chris, I'm fine. How are you? By the way, did you get into Charlotte early enough to enjoy some barbecue and what have you?
You know, I didn't make the trip. That was a Dave Hyde made the trip, so we switched. So I'm not doing Cleveland either. I'll pick them back up with Atlanta, and we'll see if they've made a coaching change by then. But I like Charlotte, though. It's a good city. Good city.
There's some decent eats.
Some very good eats. Some very good eats there. It's like one of the
underrated.
What's that?
Underrated, I think.
Exactly.
Yes.
100% underrated. I think people still think of it as an old school NASCAR town, and it's not. It is very evolved. I like Charlotte because I used to cover the Heat, so I used to go there.
Sure.
I think we were there for the Dolphins. Maybe I'm trying to think. Maybe in 2022 or something like that. I thought it was fairly recent. It might have been my last time. It might have been like maybe 18 or 19 or 20. But good city. I like Charlotte. I like Charlotte a lot. So yeah. So wow. I mean, just wow. I mean, you're up 17-0.
Well, that's the part, Chris. I actually thought they were going to lose because, as you know, I'm not very high on this team.
Yep.
But, I would have lost a staggering amount of money if you had called me and said, dude, it's 17-0. Or I'd be like, oh, no, I'm reversing everything.
Yeah.
That one surprised me. I will talk about this, obviously, but my God, to get up that much and still get gashed in the running game like that is such an indictment. Wow.
It is. It's just like I don't even know what I'm looking at anymore. It's crazy. And so on my podcast last Tuesday, I picked Carolina to win, and I said, but don't hold me to that. And then in print, I picked the Dolphins 21-20,
right?
And I was gonna change that back to Carolina, and I was like, nah, this is the game. This is the type of game they usually win. It's a bad team. They'll find a way. And wow. I mean, incredible. So yeah, well, here we are. Right? I mean, here we are.
Yes, it is. What do you think, Chris?
Geez, what's up, Mark? How are you, man?
A little too much caffeine this morning. Had to make a run down the hall there.
You know what? I'm about to get my second cup here. I'm trying to craft a column. I think I'm going to write 2 today, which I rarely do. But yeah, it's about time that he gets his. So,
Chris, I think we all have a feeling that they're all going to get theirs.
Yeah, they are. They've got to, right? I mean, how can Steve Ross bring any of them back? among Greer, McDaniel, and Tua. Well, Tua because of the contract, but
you may just not have a suitable replacement ready yet.
Right.
You know, we talk about all that, but there's one guy that's been here through all of this, and it is Ross. And I know he's not going to sell it, but Detroit didn't change until what's-her-face took over for the Fords. I mean, you got to have an owner that gets it. And I don't think he gets it.
Yeah.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on this hump day in Jacksonville, Tampa, St. Pete, and Southwest Florida. And we begin it, as we always do, with Chris Perkins of the Sun Sentinel, sun-sentinel.com. Follow him on X at Chris Perk, P-E-R-K. Chris, I ask this not to be a snarky blankety blank, but I ask this because if we go back a half a dozen years when Brian Flores was brought on board, we were tanking for Tua.
Yeah.
We knew we were bad, and we were actually intentionally trying to get as bad as possible. Yeah. In a way, is it worse now than it was then?
Yes, definitely, because you have expectations for this team and this Mike McDaniel Tua era. This is not the rebuild. This is the run to the Super Bowl, right? That's what this era was supposed to be, and they haven't even come close to that. And even this year in 2025, when they stated that they're transitioning to winning with youth and draftees from trying to win with vets and free agents, you're not seeing anything. You're not seeing anything among the starters. You're not seeing anything among the reserves. You're not seeing anything among the top players, right? Tua and Zach Sealer. I mean, Achane has been good. No complaints there. Waddle has done what he can. No complaints there. But, you're seeing Alec Ingold drop that wide open pass. I mean, Ingold is as reliable as they come. Jordan Brooks and Terrell Dodson, who had good seasons last year as inside linebackers, they can't make tackles at the line of scrimmage now. All their tackles are coming 5 and 6 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. The whole system is breaking down, and that's why this is worse. This is one of the worst failures of the Dolphins in, you hate to go back 2 decades, but because of the expectations, this is the reason why you tanked, and it's not working.
Obviously, I'm not going to get into all the analytic numbers because I don't even know if I truly understand all the analytic numbers, but just the simple numbers of rushing offense, rushing defense, passing offense, passing defense. The passing defense, and I think it's because the rushing defense is so bad, it's 32nd in the league, but their passing defense is the one with the best numbers. This was supposed to be the weakest link on the team. I mean, all the areas that were supposed to be good are flat out awful, Chris.
Yeah, and you know what? So here's my deal on that, Mark, and I'm glad you brought it up, and I'm glad that I wrote last week that the cornerbacks aren't as bad as we thought they were going to be. I agree. However, we saw what Jack Jones did last week, right? I mean, he has the 2 penalties, including the one that, I don't know if it's the one that cost them the game, that I don't know if they were going to come back, even if they got the ball back after punting on 4th and 17 with what was a minute 10 to go, whatever it was in that situation. But Jack also had a pass interference flag inexplicably picked up during the game where he clearly had a hold of the receiver's jersey. I can't remember who it was, if it was Ted McMillan or whoever it was. But, the pass defense numbers are only better because the run defense numbers are so bad that we, like you said, they have the worst yards per game rushing defense. but they've also had the second most rushing attempts against them, tied for second most rushing attempts. So teams are thinking, why are we passing on this team? And that finally happened with Carolina, right? That it was like, why are we even trying to pass? Why are we putting this game in Bryce Young's hands? Give it to our backup running back and our offensive line, and let's see if we can gash them. And they had success. So, I agree. The quarterbacks, save for those penalties, they haven't been the train wreck that I thought they were going to be. The front seven has been the unexpected train wreck for me.
And this is all on Greer, right? I mean, at this point, there's nothing that the GM and the coach can legitimately say to defend the resume, right?
Nothing. You can talk injuries. You can talk, you're in the same division as Buffalo and Josh Allen. Whatever. You were supposed to be better than this. You were supposed to have at least won a playoff game. Your quarterback was supposed to be better. Your defense was supposed to be a playmaking defense, not just a defense that puts up good numbers. Number 4 defense last year, number 9 against the run, but you needed to make some game-changing, game-winning plays. You didn't do enough. And that's really kind of the what's going to be on the tombstone of this era, right? That you just didn't do enough. You did okay. That was good for the Flores era or the Gase era or the Philbin era. This era was supposed to excel, and they have not done that. And Chris Greer's fingerprints are all over it. But I think Mike McDaniel is just as complicit, because this is an offensive team, and your offense has not produced against the best teams in the league. Again, 4-16 against playoff teams in the McDaniel era entering this season. That's not going to get it done.
And, to your point about teams just wanting to run the ball, think about last week against Carolina. They're down 17-0. Any other team says, man, we got to open this up and we got to score. And Carolina went, no, we're just going to run it, which I do. When teams are down 2 scores, I think David and I both get irritated when teams, we're down 2 scores, we can't run the ball anymore.
Right.
Oh, they knew there was plenty of time. This team can't stop the run.
Yep.
Let's just attack them the way they can't defend. But that, to me, says everything about Miami. And you posted something in the last couple of days when people coming at you about being soft. And, yeah, they are soft to a certain degree, but they want to be a finesse team. Can a finesse team still work in the NFL?
Boy, it's really tough. It's really, really tough, because this is as much as it's a passing league, it's still tackle football, right? It's still the NFL. You need muscle, you need aggression, you need physicality. And these Dolphins teams under Mike McDaniel don't have that. They've never sought that. A lot of the aggressive physical players, you go back to 2022 when they had guys like a Landon Roberts and Christian Wilkins and Rob Hunt. For one reason or another, those guys are gone. David Long, the linebacker, who I know he wasn't performing, so he had to go, but you didn't get a physical guy to replace the physical guy. They just go for such speed and finesse, and that's just not going to get it done. I mean, this is not 7-on-7. This is tackle football, and really, I think, I've said this before, I think this team reflects Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel too much. That they're such nice guys, Greer and McDaniel, and the players, it's the same thing. They're such nice guys. You don't want a bunch of jerks in the locker room. You want aggressive players, and they don't even seek aggression. They seek finesse and speed, and this is the result.
Is this the loss that breaks the room? Because if not, I'll paint this as rosy as I can. The Chargers are coming to town. The Chargers are very vulnerable right now. Both their tackles are out. Both their running backs are out. Their offensive line is a problem.
Yes.
I don't know if they can do to Miami what Carolina just did in terms of bludgeon them straight ahead. I mean, they lost to the Giants, for goodness sakes. This is not a juggernaut, okay? And let's just say Miami can win a game they're not supposed to after losing a game they were supposed to. Okay, well, then it's Cleveland. Then they get the Ravens on a short week. And wow, we haven't seen a mess like this in a long time. I mean, to me, if they're still willing to play for the guy, they can become respectable in the next 3 weeks. But do you think that they're now all going to start to head for the exits?
I don't. I think that, look, I think these players still like McDaniel. I think they still respect McDaniel. And I think that those two things are going to probably last for the rest of the season. What the danger is they stop listening to Mike McDaniel, because they look around and they say, we're 1-4 and we've had all this talent in previous years. We didn't win a playoff game. We didn't meet expectations. What he's telling us, what he's coaching us isn't working. It's just a bunch of phrases. Adversity is opportunity. In the meantime, Rico Dowdle is running for 200 and some yards against our defense. And they're going to stop listening to Mike. And that's the time that you have to make the coaching change. I wrote this week that McDaniel can't come back. Greer can't come back. I also included Tua, that he can't come back because this whole thing has failed. But I don't know when you make the change with Mike McDaniel. Tua and Greer, that's for end of the season. With McDaniel, this can go as long as the players are listening to Mike. But if you lose this week, they might start tuning Mike out. And that, to me, is when you have to start making the changes.
Well, there's been one constant through all of this, whether it's with whoever the coach was, it's the owner. And Stephen Ross is not a good owner. It's not, whatever the message is from on top hasn't worked. Other teams, when there's been some ownership changes because people have sold or they've passed and different people have taken over, there has been change. But at what point do you think, if any, does Stephen Ross tell Greer, save me $10 million, get some of these guys out of here?
Boy, I don't know. I don't know who is won it by other teams. Bradley Chubb, you would have to take a discount if you got rid of him. Zach Sealer's not going anywhere. Achan's not going anywhere. Waddle's not going anywhere. And who else is there of value? I guess there's Jordan Brooks, Aaron Brewer. Austin Jackson is injured. Patrick Paul, he's not going anywhere. Sabai Naya is not going anywhere. Kenneth Grant's not going anywhere. You don't really have a whole lot of players to save money with. And really, I will say this, Mark, when you say that Steve Ross is a bad owner, I'm still of the point where he's just not necessarily a good owner. I used to say Steve Ross was a good owner because he did two of the things you want your owner to do. He lets the football people make football decisions and he opens his wallet. However, as I used to say that to fans on social media, they would come back with, but he makes bad hires. And the more they said that and the more I thought about it, the more I thought you're right. Because look, what made Mickey Arison a good owner of the Heat? He found Pat Riley. What made Vinny Viola a good owner of the Florida Panthers? Well, he found Bill Zito. And Steve Ross has not found that guy. Owners don't make the football decisions. The football people do, but it's incumbent on the owner to find the right football people. And that's been Steve Ross's biggest failure.
Well, this upbeat segment has been brought to you by Chris Perkins of the Sun Sentinel, sun-sentinel.com. Follow him on X before you pound your head into the wall at Chris Perk, P-E-R-K. All right. Enjoy the Chargers. We'll talk next week.
Okay, guys. Hopefully we have better news.
Hopefully.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at PelicanRoofingCompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Besides the sales experience at the Diamond District, we offer a litany of other services. Appraisals.
We have 2 GIA certified gemologists, full-time, servicing your needs with appraisals.
We buy gold, diamonds, gemstones, Rolex watches.
Repairs. We have 3 full-time master bench jewelers.
A beautiful custom design department so that we can give you one-of-a-kind jewelry. Come see Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
Let's talk the big differences between Floor Meisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floor Meisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floor Meisters backs their installer. So if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floor Meisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floor Meisters in Naples. FloorMeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I think you guys were kind of right when you said they peaked against Denver a few years ago. We all thought that was the best thing we'd ever seen, myself included. I'm as guilty as anybody.
Come on, I said it at the time. I've literally been saying it since the very next day.
Yeah, and I just said, a couple guys were talking about the game against Denver when they peaked that game against Denver. That was the high point of this regime. We all thought that, oh, look at this. At least I know I did.
If they had beaten the Titans on that Monday night 2 years ago, they would have won the division. Instead of being a 6 seed going to Arctic Kansas City for a playoff game, they would have been a 2 seed hosting Mason Rudolph and the Steelers. They would have won, and then Kansas City would have had to come to them. Now, they may very well have lost, but they would have finally won a playoff game for the first time in 20 plus years, and they would have had more than a puncher's chance.
I got you. I'm with you. Right. But all I'm saying is that it's a little. Everything you're saying is 100% true. But would that have just delayed the inevitable? Because eventually in this league, you have to be able to win playing a brand of football that team never played.
No, I know, but I think that for whatever reason, the top players on the team kind of quit on the mission. They kind of looked around and said, this isn't going to work. But I'm just, you're right, Mark. It may have just masked the problems. It may have just been a moment in time. Right. Problem is, this franchise needs to give its fan base a moment.
That I agree with.
AFC East champs, winning a home playoff game, hosting a home divisional round game. I mean, you got to give the fan base some meat.
No, you're right. I mean, two things can be right here, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
This is the old, Ferguson, the Everblades coach years ago, used to always say, winning masks your problems, losing identifies them. And that's the only thing I'm saying here is that would that just have masked what the bigger issues were? I got some questions for you for a short segment when we come back.
All right.
Unless you got something really big you want to talk about.
Well, I just want to answer D. They would not have lost to that Steelers team. That was not a good team. They would not have lost to that Steelers team. They wouldn't have. I get it. All right, listen, I get.
You have every reason not to trust them. We get it.
They were better than them. That was not a good team that staggered into the playoffs and got destroyed in Buffalo. I think he's run this type of offense because of his offensive line. And that's an indictment of both of them.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Make sure you go and vote in the Shoeless Joe's poll questions about what game should be their featured highlighted game at their sports bar in the Bell Tower Shops, Fort Myers. 4 interesting choices at 1 o'clock. Pretty obvious one at 4 o'clock. Just go and vote. We'd appreciate it. And thanks to Shoeless Joe's, Bell Tower Shops, Fort Myers. Good food, good times, good sports. Shoeless Joe's.
All right. We have, right now we have the AFC South that's tied. We have the AFC West that's tied. But the other divisions, there's someone leading. So if I were to give you the leading teams in each division, who's most vulnerable to get caught right now? The Eagles, they're 4-1. The Commanders are a game behind. The Lions are a half game, I guess, game and a half, because the Packers have had a bye. The Lions are a game and a half out of the Packers. That's because they've played one more. The Falcons are a game and a half behind the Bucks. The Seahawks and Rams are a game behind the Niners. In the AFC, the Patriots are just a game behind the Bills. The Bengals are 2 games behind the Steelers. And the Jags and Colts are tied. The Chargers and Broncos are tied. Of those teams that I gave you, of Philadelphia, Detroit, Tampa Bay, San Francisco, the Bills, the Steelers, who's most vulnerable to get caught?
Well, I think the worst team of the group is Pittsburgh, but I think the most vulnerable is San Francisco. Their injuries, and some of them are not going to get better anytime soon. B, the division they play in. However, the counter argument to that is their schedule gets soft here real soon. This is one of the 5 easiest schedules in the league before the season started, and I don't know if it got more difficult now that the season has started. That's probably the best thing. I think there's a good chance, Mark, the NFC West could get 3 teams because schedule is going to come into play here. The North is playing a harder schedule than the West in the NFC. I know you got Washington. I know you got at least 3 teams in the North. I'm just telling you, scheduling comes into play here. The West has it much easier than do the East and the North in the NFC this year. But to win the division, Mark, because the AFC North has fallen apart. And it's just absolutely fallen apart. No Burrow, probably for the year, not until the very end of the year. And none of us now think they'll keep their head above water so that he could come back the last 3 weeks and salvage the season. And it's really starting to add up here for the Ravens. I mean, they got Rams this week. They still got a couple other quote-unquote heavyweights on their schedule. Now they do have 2 games with Pittsburgh late, so if they could somehow, some way stay close enough. But, the old Yogi Berra expression, it's getting late early. It's late early in Baltimore. My answer would be San Francisco.
I think mine would be too. I brought it up because Washington, we know that the Chargers offensively are challenged right now because of their own line and no running backs. But Washington, Jaden Daniels looked like Jaden Daniels coming back last week, particularly in the second half. They get the Eagles like the Ravens get the Steelers. 2 of the last 3. Do you think that division will still be in play come mid-December for the Washington Commanders?
I'm not chickening out on you here, but I think it's all dependent on the Eagles. All right. There's a locker room factor to take into account here. It's real. Sirianni didn't dodge it 2 years ago. He barely dodged it last year. There were 2-2, and there were issues. And then they went on this nice run. There's locker room issues again. And Mark, I think it's all dependent on the Eagles. If the Eagles have their act together, they dominate the East. So
good news for the Eagles. 2 of their next 3 are against the Giants. The other one's at Minnesota in the middle. Be interested in that game to see what the Vikings have for Philadelphia in a couple of weeks. But we get a Thursday night game of Philly at the Giants this week, even on a short week. It's still the Giants. The Phillies are much better, or the Philadelphia is much better. And Saquon, what a perfect time for a get-right game against your old team.
They need it. They need it. I will say, though, they have to get it. If you're a little vulnerable internally, if by chance they screw it up tomorrow night, look out.
Just wanted to throw that out there. And the other thing happening today, we spent a little time early in the show. We call it the baseball hour, and we did spend a little time in the baseball hour talking about it. Bunch of teams, season could be over. Who survives? Tigers, Cubs, Yankees, Phillies, all elimination games. How many game 5s do we get? And in the National League, do we get any game 4s?
Well, I feel most confident about the Yankees. I feel second most confident about the Cubs because, the Padres extending them to 3. I didn't think their starting pitching was deep enough to begin with, but now at least they get to come back with their top guys. So I think that they can win one in Wrigley for sure. I would vote the Cubs second, and I would vote the Tigers third, and I have the least. Too. And I love the Phillies entering the playoffs. I hate this Aaron Nola decision tonight. The other thing is, even if Nola goes through the lineup twice and pitches really well, it's against Yamamoto. I mean, that's the other thing. The Dodgers are perfectly built for a best of 3 and a best of 5 because they got Ohtani, Snell, and Yamamoto. They're actually most vulnerable in a best of 7 because the other thing is their bullpen is very vulnerable. So the more you can face them, the more of a shot you have. That bullpen barely held on to a 4-0 lead in game 2. So I would list them in that order. Yankees force a game 5, Cubs force a game 4. I wouldn't bet the Tigers, and I definitely wouldn't bet the Phillies.
Yeah, the Tigers can't hit the baseball right now, so it's tough. But Schwarber and Harper aren't hitting it all either. 1 for 15, 8 Ks. I mean, that's not getting it done, gang.
Yeah, but boy, if you're the Tigers, you're like, oh man,
Just get into a game 5.
One game, and I hand the ball to Skubal.
And you pitch him until his arm falls off, David.
Yes.
I mean, we've talked about it. He's there next year, and that's probably it.
Right.
So I don't give a damn. If they get to a game 5, you hand the young man the ball and say, it's yours. It's yours until you tell me you're not pitching anymore. But can they get there? Did the 9th inning wake the bats up for the Tigers? I doubt it. I really do.
Well, that's what you're
Seattle's
hoping.
starting to hit.
Well, yes, but it's one damn game at home. One damn game at home. Hell, you went to Seattle and won the one damn game. Because here's the other thing. You're thinking, come on, if we throw Scooble twice in a series, are we really going to lose both those games?
Can Casey Mize give the Tigers?
Well, can AJ Hinch actually let him pitch the fourth inning, for God's sakes? I'm a little tired of these 6 2/3 bullpen games. Give me a break. Your bullpen's not that good.
And the Jays going with a bullpen game today against the Yankees. And
Very
Schmidt was a
surprised.
rookie on the mound.
Very surprised. They had two veterans, Bassett and Scherzer, for potentially a game 4 in New York, and they decided to go with their young bullpen instead. Wow. Yankees, big favorites today.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
When Glass Doctor replaces your windshield, we don't just send you on your way, we send you off protected. Your local Glass Doctor includes the industry's only 12-month windshield protection plan at no extra cost. That means unlimited chip repairs and even a one-time replacement if needed. High-quality service backed by real peace of mind, right here in your neighborhood.
Glass Doctor, Glass Doctor. Call the Glass Doctor, we fix your pains. Oh, yeah.
Exclusions apply. See your local Glass Doctor for details.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound. American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I mean, Paula, go to church, light a candle, say a prayer for that, because that's about what they need right now. I really need McLaurin to play this week. Just letting everybody know that. And that's scary because I don't know if I'll know by Sunday. Have Tyreek Hill and McLaurin as receivers on your team, and they both get hurt. I know you saw it, Logic Man. David, did you see the end of they put it out on X, the end of the post-game Phillies broadcast the other night?
Which I love.
Screaming at one another. It was great.
Former Phillies general manager, by the way, Ruben Amaro, with the host screaming at him. By the way, that's the host that pointed out that the Phillies haven't won a series. Last year when the Mets won game 1 against the Phillies, and they had a big late rally to do it. And that show was despondent. And the host pointed out the Phillies haven't won a playoff series when they lost game 1 since like the 70s. And I just had that in my mind when the Dodgers came back and won game 1. I'm like, oh, Phillies don't do well when they lose game 1. I think Rob Thompson's done a very good job in Philadelphia. And I'm a guy who's conservative by nature, sports-wise, punt, kick the field goal. I don't mind playing for a run. In that situation, I didn't like the bunt. He's a contact hitter. A ground ball to second moves them to third. Okay, it's a contact pitcher. I would have let him swing away. I was convinced he was going to get him to third no matter what, that you didn't have to give up the out, and he might get a hit.
Ooh. Man, I've gone the whole show without checking my weekly specials, David.
Hey, I understand. I'm sure we probably threw my mother off her game with no Seth today. She was probably like, wait, what day is it? But Bud Elliott probably brought her back in.
You know, that segment goes so fast to me. Like I all of a sudden I look up, we've got 3 minutes left, and I feel like I'm half done.
It's funny. I text Bud and I said, we didn't get to Louisville, Miami, whether Illinois is a puncher's chance
Louisville, Miami's next week.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They're on a bye.
We didn't get to whether Illinois is a puncher's shot against Ohio State, nor the 2 Big 12 showdown games.
Right. You think so, Adam, or are you just praying?
Want to bet? Name the bet, Adam, straight up. They can. They can win. Put it all on the app.
Welcome to the bonus hour, brought to you by Jason and Todd at the Diamond District. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes until the top of the hour, and that's when we are out of here. By the way, Seth Everett, Roy Cummings, JP Shadrick, all on the show tomorrow, and I'm working on a Gators guest as well. We may be jam-packed tomorrow before a football Friday here on Miller and Moulton.
In the meantime, might as well get to some business.
It's that time again, nearing the end, but not quite there yet. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
All right. Laurel and Hardy did their first film together appearing as a team. Unless you're really old, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But that's a lot of Saturday morning television for me. Before cartoons, a lot of the Laurel and Hardy stuff was on. This one was on too. Abbott and Costello launched their weekly radio show today in 42. The Cleveland Browns play Pittsburgh for the first time today in 1950, and they beat the Steelers 30-17. Today in 56, two things. One, the nation's first enclosed shopping mall opens. It opened in a Minneapolis suburb, the Southdale Mall in Edina. And a much bigger story. Today in 56, Don Larson, throws his perfect game in Game 5 of the World Series. Today in 57, the Brooklyn Dodgers announced their move to Los Angeles, and Jerry Lee Lewis records Great Balls of Fire. Today in 71, Lennon's second solo album, Imagine, is released. It would top the charts in the U.S., the U.K., Australia, and 3 other countries. 1978, the Yankees win their 3rd consecutive AL championship. They did them all against the Kansas City Royals. The Color of Money premiered today in 1986. Today in 1988, for the final time, Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon was on the Billboard 200 album chart. It had a run of 741 weeks. 1990, Eddie Vedder moved to Seattle, where he met up with Pearl Jam for the first time. They chose him based on vocals he added to a 3-song instrumental demo. The rest, they say, is history. Today in 91, Soundgarden released Bad Motorfinger. It was 2 weeks after Nirvana released Nevermind, and Pearl Jam's 10 was released on August 27th. Grunge was kind of big. The Office of Homeland Security was founded today in 2001. And Martha Stewart began her jail sentence today in 2004. Pepper Rogers, the coach of Georgia Tech and the Memphis Showboats, Johnny Ramone and Rashad Salam would have all celebrated birthdays today. Jesse Jackson's 84, Chevy Chase 82, Sigourney Weaver is 76. Awesome Bill from Dawsonville, Bill Elliott, is 70.
I know I've told this before, but I was leaning against Bill Elliott's car at Pocono, okay, interviewing, I think it was Richard Petty, and Elliott saw me, and I was just touching it, and he decided he was going to teach, and I was 20, and I looked it, so Elliott gets in his car and starts it. Have you ever stood next to a NASCAR when they start those suckers up?
Nope.
Right. I was convinced that I had wet my pants at that moment while interviewing Richard Petty, and I didn't look to see, but it felt like I had. And when the interview was over and Elliott got, because also with the car being that loud, the interview has to stop because you can't hear anything. He gets out of the car laughing, and then he says, "Don't lean against the car if you can." I said, "Got it." And I looked down to check, and I hadn't, but I could have sworn, Mark, that I had lost all my bodily functions.
Matt Damon is 55. Former coach of the Suns, Hornets, and Pistons, Monty Williams, is 54. One of David's favorites, Bruno Mars, is 40. And Bubba Wallace is 32. What did I miss, David?
Wow, Damon's double nickel?
Yeah.
Wow. And Bruno's only 40. He's been around a while.
I know.
Wow.
I would have thought he was older, to be brutally honest.
I would have also. And the casinos in Vegas are thrilled that he's only 40. Oh, my goodness. How much more money can he lose between now and the end? So this was an amazing day in our nation's history in the upper Midwest. The Chicago Fire, the Great Chicago Fire, began tonight in 1871. 2-day blaze, killed about 300 people, destroyed over 17,000 buildings, left 100,000 people homeless, caused $200 million in 1871 damages. That's $4 billion today. That's the Great Chicago Fire, Mark. Because it was in Chicago and the way news traveled or didn't travel, the massive Peshtigo fire was burning the same day in Wisconsin. Now remember, 300 people lost their lives in Chicago. 1,200 people lost their lives in Wisconsin. But instead of buildings being destroyed, 2 billion trees were destroyed. The Chicago fire, 250 miles away, got the attention. The Peshtigo fire, most of us probably are fully unaware of.
Time to see life a little bit differently. Here's Mark Miller with the good, the bad, and the ugly. What do you got, Mark?
The good, the bad, and the ugly brought to you by the Cape Coral Police Department. They're hiring. Go to capecops.com.
CapeCops.com. CapeCops.com.
For the good, we go to Naples, where the signature fundraiser of the Naples Therapeutic Riding Center is coming in November. It's their 20th annual. The fundraiser supports the organization's life-changing programs, including therapeutic riding, occupational therapy, and equine facilitated psychotherapy. For the bad, we go to the open roads, David, where in Franklin County in Illinois, some of the lanes of the highways were closed after a single vehicle crash left an over-trucked semi-turned, and it spilled its load of applesauce. Some 46,000 pounds of applesauce spilled onto the roadway.
23 tons of applesauce?
184,000 4-ounce containers.
Man, there goes school lunches in whatever neighboring cities that was.
Peter Brady would never have been able to handle it. And finally, the ugly. We go to Cary, North Carolina, just south of Raleigh, where Baber George was arrested at 1:20 in the morning for soliciting a prostitute. He was pulled over for a moving violation, and the local preacher had somebody in his car with him.
Really?
The preacher, who works for an international nonprofit focused on human rights, said the woman claimed to have a child and was homeless, so he gave her $20. No word on whether or not he was asking for a mouth hug. And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, Wednesday, October the 8th, brought to you by the Cape Coral Police Department.
CapeCops.com. CapeCops.com.
Here on Miller and Moulton.
Hey, we got football tonight. No. It's not Maxon either. But
what is it, the UFL?
Have to wait till the spring for the Orlando Storm. No, 7:30 tonight on the Deuce. And boy, do I date myself with that reference, but I don't care. ESPN2 at 7:30. Ha, ha, ha. It's Missouri State and Middle Tennessee State. Let me tell you something. If you're watching that instead of the Yankees, if you're watching that instead of the end of the Cubs game, all right, you know what? This should have been the poll question today. Missouri State against Middle Tennessee State or Game 3 of the WNBA Finals. You have to watch one of them. Which would it be?
One Life to Live. I don't even know if that's still on, but I'd rather watch that.
7:30 ESPN2, Missouri State, a 2.5-point road favorite. But there's more. More football on CBS Sports Network. Hey, you guys had to find FS2 last night for the Mariners and the Tigers. I don't want to hear it. You can find CBS Sports Network. Liberty and UTEP. By the way, Liberty's 1-4. What's going on there?
Give me Liberty and lay the points?
Laying 1.5 on the road in El Paso. There you have it. ESPN2, 7:30, CBS Sports Network, 8 o'clock. I mentioned it also at 8, Game 3, WNBA Finals, Vegas and Phoenix. It's on the mothership.
David?
I got Phoenix tonight, and I'm laying the 3.5. So there. And it's on the mothership, the 4-letter network. Okay. Baseball, day and night. It's real easy to remember. 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock. We go Mariners, Tigers at 3. We go Brewers, Cubs at 5. We go Jays, Yankees at 7. Phillies, Dodgers at 9. American League games are on FS1 at 3 and 7. National League games at 5 and 9 are on TBS. Plan accordingly.
I'll go Mariners, Cubs, Yankees, Dodgers. I don't want it to be that way, and I'm not doing this because I'm trying to pick against my team and split the difference. I will be rooting, like heavily rooting for the Tigers. That's my first team. That's the first game I went to. That is my first love in sports as a little kid. My parents and my grandfather taking me to Tigers games on the corner of Michigan and Trumbull. But they can't hit. They were bad all September. I didn't think they'd get through Cleveland. The Mariners are pitching well, and their bats are starting to go. Unless Casey Mize can pitch 7 and give up 1 run, I don't see how the Tigers have a chance.
I so want to see Scooble pitch a game.
I
5.
do too.
I really do.
But do you think, truly, David, you have to bet the game. Who are you going to put your $20 on?
No, I would put it on Bryce Miller over Casey Mize. I would. Remember, Mariners didn't play a first-round series. They have their starting pitching lined up. And
Casey Mize is Detroit's second-best starter. He is.
Yeah,
He's their only other starter not named Scooble that had a winning record this year.
yeah, but AJ doesn't have enough confidence in him to let him see the 5th inning. I mean, I don't want to say it almost doesn't matter that he's their number 2 starter, but he doesn't use him like a number 2 starter. I mean, you leave a number 2 starter in a game for 6 innings. You know, Yaskevich was Toronto's number 2 starter. Blake Snell is the Dodgers' number 2 starter. I mean, we could go down the list here. But anyway, it's a virtual pick 'em. You know what? I'm going to take all 4 home teams. I am. We see Scooble in a pressure situation in a game 5 in Seattle. And I hate to root against you. You know I'm rooting for Seattle because they've never been to the World Series. And you know my feeling that, everybody needs a parade, blah, blah, blah.
They had a parade. It's for their football team. Do they really need one for their baseball team, too? They had one for their basketball team. It was a long time ago, but they had one.
Well, it was Carter was president, Mark. I mean, really? You're going
to even have a natty in football, don't they, with the Huskies?
Yeah, they had to split it, though.
I'm just saying.
But yeah, it was 35 years ago. It was just the other day. Right. But yeah, the football,
David, that was a long damn time ago.
I know it was. I know the football parade was only 12 years ago. That's true. But they haven't seen the LCS in 24 years. Just the LCS they haven't seen in 24 years. I mean, you guys have seen it like 6 times since then.
Miller and Moulton.
I know the pain. Playoff baseball, the pain.
Roy Cummings, J.P. Shadrick, Seth Everett, and David has promised us a Gators guest.
Yep.
That's all tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day, folks.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. Capecops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at PelicanRoofingCompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Let's talk the big differences between Floor Meisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floor Meisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floor Meisters backs their installer, so if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floor Meisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floor Meisters in Naples. FloorMeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
For over 50 years, the Nolan family has been dedicated to protecting local families. Nolan Family Insurance is a second-generation independent agency that specializes in home, flood, auto, and boat insurance. They take the time needed to explain your coverage options and answer your questions so you can make an informed decision that's right for you. If you're looking for an agency that treats you like family, call 941-639-1122 or go to NolanAgency.com. That's 941-639-1122 or NolanAgency.com. Football season is back and celebrate your game day with Jimmy the Beef Guy. We're talking tender, juicy Chicago beef sandwiches. Whether your party's for 10, 100, or 200, bring game day to your house with Jimmy the Beef Guy. The catering packages come with the beef, the gravy, the peppers, the bread, everything you need. 2 convenient locations, Fort Myers and Bonita Springs. Skip the ordinary and bring the beef. Jimmy the Beef Guy, Chicago flavor, Southwest Florida style. Call today or visit jimmythebeefguy.com. Tell him Miller and Moulton sent you.
This is Miller and Moulton